Well, hey, thanks for joining in with us this Tuesday night as we talk about where we're processing what we have learned from our missionary on Sunday morning. You may know Bob Skinner. Some of you are even, I think, related to him. I don't know that you know that Bob and I did our first internship together in 1983. And at that point in time, I looked like I was in junior high, and Bob was a starting nose guard for Boise State University. So whenever I'd walk alongside him, it looked like I was one of the teenagers when I was supposed to be one of the youth pastors. So uh, this missions piece is a critical part of the Church of the Nazarene, and started in our early days, I believe around 1914, this emphasis to make sure the gospel was gone worldwide. We are a church that really believes in supporting missionaries, and we do it a little differently than most churches do. We don't necessarily support a single missionary. We have a thing called World Evangelism Fund, and so churches from all over the world put into this fund, and that helps support our missionaries. It helps to pay their salary, helps to pay um, their insurance, helps to pay their housing, helps to raise their funds for if they need to come back home directly. And then in addition to that, missionaries come and they come to a local church, and the church takes what's called a deputation offering. And that offering helps to support additional expenses like cars and things that they've got to buy on the mission field. You know, cars can be really expensive on the mission field. And then one other key area that you will find in the Church of the Nazarene as far as missions giving is concerned is what we give to what we call alabaster. So twice a year, we hand out these little boxes, and you take them home with you, and you put little coins in them and such, and even some dollar bills and $5 bills and things. You bring it back, you put them in this box, and 100% of those funds go to help build churches on the mission field. So about 10 years ago, I want to say it is, maybe longer, for the first time in the history of the Church of the Nazarene, and the Church of the Nazarene has been around since 1908, the international church became larger than the domestic church. And it's incredible to come to what we call our General Assembly, where it's our legislative body of the church, and watch us operate as a global church. There are only 3 churches in the world that operate that way as a global church, and that is the LDS Church, the Catholic Church, and the Church of the Nazarene. And it's fun to watch our community of faith work together to make decisions. We have 6 general superintendents in the Church of the Nazarene, and 3 of them are internationals. And so we really are a global church. Guys, I want to ask you a question. And those of you who are joining in, if you would like to comment below, if maybe you've been a part of the Church of the Nazarene, or maybe you've been a part of a church that was emphasizing missions, what has been the highlight in having a missionary come to your church? How did God use that person to speak into your life?
Well,
Wow.
I'll jump in. I'll jump in here, because that's a good question, because it takes me back when I was about 6th grade, 5th or 6th grade. We had missionaries at our church for the week where we were growing up. I grew up in Nazarene church, but we had the missionaries there, and I think we had extra services on top of the Sunday and everything. But there was something within the Sunday time when, as a kid, I was a part of the service and listening, and that's where God actually began to work a call into ministry in my heart, because of the things that this missionary gal was saying about her call and about God using people around the world. And just, that's where I walked out of that service going, I think God has called me into ministry. So it took form from there, but I definitely identify that time in a service with a missionary as being the point where God really stirred that in my own heart. So that's pretty significant for me.
Anybody else?
I know for me, not one particular like person or missionary um, has kind of directly, spoken to me, but just this kind of grouping of every time I've met with people who are missionaries and stuff, they have always helped me better shape and understand kind of my theology of ministry as a whole, and how it's not just for, people who are flying out to another country or something, but how to be a missionary kind of in your own field, because that's, I think, the heart of what it's all about. It's going to a place and getting accustomed and living in the culture, like living, literally doing life alongside people, which applies to, I mean, all of us, which I think is a call to Christians that is so often missed out on, because it's like, me growing up, it was okay, the missionaries are the people who go somewhere, go leave to a different place, and so I can't be a missionary. Like, if I'm not over in a new place or in a new foreign land, it's the idea of where you're doing life and where you're connecting with people and where you're actually living that makes you a missionary. And so I think through my experience, it's always been helpful to see that no, like we're all missionaries. It's just a matter of where we're where our mission field is. And for some of us, that may be in a different place. That may be in just a new state, a new location, or maybe it's where you are or where you have been. And so
Yeah.
Levi, that's one of the reasons why every missionary that comes, and I like to have about 4 of them a year at least on Sunday mornings, but every missionary that comes, I say to them, don't just tell us about what's going on across the world. Tell us how we can be a missionary right where we're living. So, because I think God does call us to do that. That's great. Anybody else?
I have a funny story of a missionary just sticks in my mind. Came and visited, and this was one of the saintly, elderly type missionaries that had been doing it for 40, 50 or so years. And he had really pulled us in. He was giving his sermon, and we were really leaning in to try to hear where he was leading to. And this is a guy that was not used to microphones, let alone the kind that you wear on your ear that come right around by your mouth. So at some point, he's about ready for his conclusion, and he just starts, "'Tis so sweet to trust," and it's just like so loud, and we're all leaning in, and all of a sudden we're just blown away because he starts singing full voice, super loud, and I'm sure the sound guy was probably scrambling, but I remember just being like shocked out of my seat of like, whoa, okay, I
Thanks,
need
because you
to.
did that for me as well.
Yeah, we weren't really ready for what he was. It was so funny, but yeah, we've had lots of fun missionaries over the years. I remember, yeah, growing up and having the guy come that would shoot the blowgun dart all the way across the sanctuary and
Yeah.
show us
Probably
like,
Larry Garman.
you
That
know,
was probably who that was. He would do that.
yep.
It was awesome to
And we
watch.
had we had other guys that would come that would show, we were kids, and they'd show us kind of, hey, here's what the money looks like. Here's what we usually dress up like during the week. Here's the regular clothes. But just that connectedness of knowing like uh, the people that are living around the world all need to hear that Jesus loves them, and that Jesus um, is real, and is the way to salvation, is the way to right relationship with God. And whatever culture we find ourselves in, it's like our calling to help people um, find Jesus and find a relationship, and a way to walk with God. And so that was kind of neat to be able to see him from all around the world.
I think
You know,
missionaries too, they got like the best stories. Out of, if you ever ask a missionary about one of his stories, like coming into a new place or something, there's always one of those little missteps or mistake stories that just makes people go crazy. And I think it bleeds a lot into like, culture and context. And, there's certain things that we do, we grow up, we learn, and it's just in our nature, it's in our character, maybe to show someone respect or something or whatever it is, but it might be like the biggest insult or something in another culture. And so operating within that context and understanding before, kind of going too deep, basically. But they always have super funny stories, I remember.
So Pastor Levi, you need to tuck this away for future reference so you don't ever make this error. So I had a missionary come to Salt Lake City who was from Trinidad, and great guy. But I knew I had made an error when he stepped up to the platform, to the pulpit, and says, I am so glad that Pastor Timmy, that's the first error, Pastor Timmy did not give me a time limit. Now, we normally got out of service at noon.
Oh, no.
1 o'clock, it's finishing up. Children's Ministries, Connie, downstairs are banging on the door.
Yeah.
And there was nothing I could do. My hands were tied. So I learned a valuable lesson about making sure you put in your limitation of time and content.
Oh man. Yeah, it is funny. It's so amusing when we start crossing cultures, right? It's so, yeah, it's amusing. This is actually brought back to my mind something I've been thinking about this recently. That the beauty of God, the beauty of the gospel, though, is that the heart of who Jesus is literally crosses into any culture and any setting. So if it's what we would call a third world culture where they don't have much access or don't have much education, or if it's like a postmodern culture who thinks they have access to every bit of information of the world, and yet here's the gospel and here is Jesus himself who can transcend every stinking culture. And his message is, I don't know, I've really been thinking about that a lot lately. All of the intricacies and some of even the arguments you get over theologically about, this kind of statement or that kind of statement. But at the end of the day, the heart of the gospel transcends every culture. And that's just the heart of God, is it's not confined to, if we get, a specific verse out of Hebrews translated correctly, you have it or you don't. So good luck with that. No, the heart of the gospel goes to, it's so simple at the end of the day, and it goes into every culture.
I'm always taken at times by the conviction and passion. That's what sometimes challenges me. I hear about this conviction and passion that they have, and I can't mention the missionary online, but you guys will remember we had a missionary, and he talked about, he showed us a picture of this young man on a motorcycle getting ready to go into a area of the world where the gospel wasn't welcomed. And the man knew he probably wasn't coming back. And I thought, wow, God, give me that kind of passion for lost people that don't know you, that I would be so hungry that I will give my life so that they can know about you, because that's exactly what he was planning to do. He was saying his goodbyes and heading out to give his life for the sake of the gospel. Wow. So I think having a missionary is a pretty powerful thing. And we wonder if our dollar makes a difference. And I will just tell you, as you folks are going to be challenged to give, that missions is a great place to give your resources. And some of it you will never know until eternity. The difference your gift made to give somebody the gospel. Well, I hope you've enjoyed our little discussion today. And if you like this, would you share it with others? And again, comment down below some of your stories. We would love to read those. But it's really important that you share this so that this word gets out. And again, a re-emphasizing of the mission of every Christian, no matter where we're at, to go into the entire world and preach the gospel. Baptizing people in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything that I've commanded you, Jesus said, to the very ends of the world. And the good news is, no matter where we go, he goes with us. So may you go out today knowing how loved you are by God, and go and sharing his love with those around you. Thanks for joining in.